Hello, here I am with the second video of the Canterbury Tales series to just summarize what had happened in the first part of the prologue. On the first video, actually, we checked out some of the historical facts about Canterbury Tales and Geoffrey Chaucer, and then some facts about the very notion of pilgrimage in England. Especially, it happened in April, when the weather was fine and it was kind of the suitable time for such pilgrimage, and many people went to Canterbury, where there was buried a martyr, Sir Thomas Becket, and we checked out the history of Thomas Becket. And then we know these pilgrims, an imaginary kind of cohort of people met at the Tabard, and the Tabard was an inn in Southwark, and then they decided to start the company together, uh, and each one of them is supposed to narrate a story, but beforehand, Chaucer takes his time to introduce each one of the pilgrims, who they are, what is their profession, what kind of dress are they wearing, and all that. He starts with a pilgrim who has the highest rank, the knight. We checked out the history of the knight. He actually took part in many battles in different parts of Europe and the Islamic world, like the Ottoman Empire. So he was present in the battles between the Christians and the Muslims, as it is discussed in the last video. Uh, and then about his manners, how he acted courtly, and what he wore, uh, and all that. So this was the history of the knights, the highest of the ranks among the pilgrims. Now let's move on to the squire, another character in the story. He had his son with him. His son, the knight's son, a fine fair young squire, a loving cadet, a lad of fire, with locks as curly as if they had been pressed. It seems that there is a sharp contrast between the son and the father. The father is a man of war, but the squire is mostly keeping up with the characteristics, with the features associated in the romances to the knight. So it seems that while the father might be closer to reality, the son is mostly taken from the stories. He was some 20 years of age, I guess, and stature he was of a moderate length, with wonderful agility and strength. He'd seen some service with the cavalry, and Flanders and Artois and Picardy. Flanders is the name of a region in Belgium, and Artois and Picardy regions in France, and had been valiantly in little space of time and hoped to win his lady's grace. So it seems that he's not fighting for the sake of fighting for the chivalric kind of ideals, but he's fighting to be more courteous, to have the hand of a lady, which is uh, a part of the literary tradition associated with the stories of the knights, or the chivalric romances, as we call them technically in literature, who was embroidered like a meadow bride and full of freshest flowers, red and white. Single he was, or floating all the day, he was as fresh as the month of May. Short was his grown, his sleeves were long and wild. He knew the way to sit a horse and ride. He could make songs and poems and recite, knew how to joust and dance, to draw and write. He loved so hotly that to joust is like to fight and kind of battles which are seen by people, not real battles. He loved so hotly that till dawn grew pale, he slept as little as a nightingale, because he's all the time singing for his love, and he's suffering because his beloved is not nearby. Courteous he was, lowly and serviceable. Uh, Lowly means humble, and carved to serve his father at the table. So he's serving his father, and this is the task of a squire, actually. There was a human, the next character, with him at his side. The human is serving the knight and the squire. The human were the servants, whose ranks was just in the middle of the like knights and the lower people. And some of them could have control over a small portion of land. There was a human with him at his side, no other servant, so he chose to ride. This human wore a coated hood of green and peacock feathered arrows, bright and keen, and neatly sheathed, hung at his belt, while sheathed means not like he's wearing them, hung at his belt the while, for he could dress his gear in human style. His arrows never drooped, their feathers low. He's a master of controlling everything and the what he's wearing and even shooting something like an arrow, and in his hand he bore a mighty bow. His head was like a nut, his face was brown. He knew the whole of woodcraft up and down. So he's a master carpenter, it seems. A saucy brace was on his arm to wood it from the bowstring, and a shield and a sword hung at one side, and at the other side, and the other slipped a jaunty dirk, spear sharp and well equipped. A medal of Saint Christopher he wore, of shining silver in his breast, and bore a hunting horn, well slung in burnished clean, that dangled from a baldric of bright green. And you can see all of these features and details that dangled from a baldric of bright green. He was a proper forester, I guess. So we know that he's a master carpenter, he's a forester, and he also wears green, matching his profession. The next one is a prioress. There also was a nun, a prioress. A prioress as in charge of a series of other nuns, so that it's a rank among the nuns, is Lord and Abbess. She's one of the high ranks of the nuns who's living in an abbey. There also was a nun, a prioress. Her way of smiling very simple and coy. The word coy is a kind of a tricky word used here. Coyness is not shyness, it's just to pretend to be shy. So since she's very she's smiling in a coy way, she's pretending that she's shy, but she's not. And this is not matching that much of a progress in a way. Her greatest oath was only by St. Loy, and she was known as Madame Eglantine. Eglantine is the name of a flower from the family of the roses, and it has a fine scent. And while she sang a service with a fine intoning through her nose, as was most seemly, and she spoke daintily in French, extremely. Daintily means skillfully, and she uses French in an extreme manner. Actually, at the time in the Middle Ages, some languages were used and employed by people side by side one another. So we have kind of multiplicity of languages, and English is little by little getting to be the lingua franca. But the language of the French in business, language of court in business was beforehand the instance of the story French. And Latin was also there because of the prior presence of the Romans and the fact that Latin was the language of Christianity, and there were various forms of Anglo-Saxon languages in there. So in the modern and the nearly what is Middle English near to our modern English was also spoken. So there are various forms of languages all are there, and besides them, there was also Celtic language spoken by some people. So at least four dominant languages were in there, and French seemed to be the most classy among them. So she uses French, or she extremely uses French words when she's speaking English. After this, so she speaks French in a kind of fluent way, and she spoke daintily in French extremely after the school of Stratford at Tabau. It means that She's not familiar with the French accent, the real French spoken by people in France. French in the Paris style she did not know. Therefore, and she speaks in one of the accents of French used in English in England. Admits, there are many details about her table manners. Admit her manners were all taught without no morsel from her lips did she let fall. The details about the female characters are more, it seems, when Chaucer came across the female characters, he provides more detail. Nor dipped her fingers in the sauce too deep, sorry, but she could carry a morsel up and keep the smallest drop from falling on her breast. For courtliness, she had a special zest, and she would wipe her upper lip so clean that not a trace of grease was to be seen. Upon the cup when she had drunk, to eat, she reached a hand sadly for the meat. So she did sadly, and that she does everything with manners at the table. She certainly was very entertaining. A prioress is not supposed to be entertaining. She's one of the highest ranks of an abbey or something, in the clergy class. But anyway, this kind of pretentiousness is all the way along with us in the Canterbury tales. That maybe hypocrisy is also there. She certainly was very entertaining, pleasant, friendly in her ways, and straining to counterfeit a courtly kind of grace, a stately bearer and fitting to her place, and to seem dignified in all her dealings. That actually a stately bearer and fitting to her place might be ironic. She's not supposed to, then a person of such a rank and position should not be like that, a woman especially. But anyway, and to seem dignified in all her dealings. As for her sympathies and tender feelings, she was so charitably solicitous. She used to weep if she but saw a mouse caught in a trap, if ever dead or bleeding. And she had little dogs she would feeding with roasted flesh or milk or fine white bread. And literally she wept if one were dead or someone took a stick and made it smart. Smart in those days meant wound. So to wound was to show someone else wounded or to talk about it. They used the word smart. She was all sentiment and tender heart. Her veil was gathered in a seemly way, in a mannered way. Her nose was elegant, her eyes glass grey. Her mouth was very small but soft and red. Then you see the details that does not match again a woman belonging to the church tradition. I'm sorry. Her forehead certainly was fair of spread, almost a span across the brows I own. She was indeed by no means undergrown. Her cloak, I noticed, had a graceful charm, and a woman from the church and someone from the clergy class is supposed to wear simple kind of dresses, but uh, she's not doing that. Her cloak, I noticed, had a graceful charm. She wore a coral trinket on her arm. You see the details in the picture. A set of beads. The goddess, tricked in green. Whence means from where. Whence hung a golden brooch of brightest sheen, as you can see here, on which there was graven a crowned A. And lower, that A stands for Amor vincit omnia, which is a Latin expression meaning in English, love conquers all. It's not God, but it's love that conquers all. And the story of our prioress and the Canterbury Tales. So here we came upon the last slide of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you would also watch my next videos. Thank you very much.